and welcome to the Bianca Williams podcast. I am your host, Bianca Williams. We have a special guest. This is my homegirl. We go right back. This is my sister. My gosh, you guys are in for a treat because one thing about her is her hustle is strong, but she is also very talented, gifted, and so connected to the community. I want to pause and welcome Kat English. Thank you so much, Kat, for joining us. So just so you guys know, she is a hair care specialist. She has her own shop. She does different hair care teaching opportunities. There's just so many things going on, but I just don't know everything she's doing. So let's take a moment to ask Miss Cat what she's doing.
Hey y'all, hey. My name is Kat English. I am from Detroit. I am a multi-faceted entrepreneur. So, a couple of businesses. Currently, the owner of Velada Locks Hair Suite, which is located in Detroit, Michigan. We are accepting new clients. We are also training locticians to become professional, and we also have mentorship opportunities for those who are looking into starting their own businesses. I also am a podcaster of the Minding My Black Owned Business, Women in Business podcast. We have episodes up now on Apple, all of your all of your social media streaming platforms available. We will potentially be back next year. And also with that, I am a wife, a mother, a daughter, and a part of two organizations, professional organizations. And I do keep myself immersed in the community with providing jobs, sharing resources, and also helping those who are trying to grow their business. Thank
Yeah.
you, Bianca, for this opportunity and for sharing your platform. You are doing an amazing job, and I'm very proud of you.
Thank you so much. That means a lot coming from you. Y'all, I mean, whew, that was a lot, right? Like I said, her hustle is strong. And if you have never been here before, please go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you check this video out in totality so you can share your feedback. And don't forget to check out other videos. Share this with people because the information that comes out in these stories, in these different podcast episodes, I feel like are so educational. They're so empowering. They're so inspiring. And so don't feel like you got to hold this information to yourself. Share it with the world. That's why we here. That's why we on these different platforms. YouTube, Spotify, Apple are our main three, but we're going to expand in the future. So just stay tuned, y'all. So as you know, as you guys just heard, Kat just explained that she does all of these things with hair care. She does a podcast. She's a mom. She's a wife. All of the above. Like she's always been just this powerhouse. She is also one of the nicest, sweetest people I know. I'll never forget being that broke college student. And I just used to think Maximus was the coolest car. And Kat picked me up at her Maxima and took me downtown and we were hanging out. And so that is my, we go way back, y'all. But today we're actually not going to be talking a whole lot about hair care. Instead, we're going to be getting into something that is required for you to reach different levels of success, for you to reach different levels of peace. Y'all know I spend a lot of time talking about self-growth and mental health. And so I feel like this is a topic that is a, foundational part of mental health. And that is going to be setting boundaries, understanding how boundaries work, understanding that there are different boundaries and that boundaries are absolutely necessary. I want to start with Kat, if you could please explain to us what are personal boundaries and why are they essential for a healthy life?
Period. So when we think about boundaries, I want you all to just get in a mindset of keeping a divide between your personal and your professional. So we have to set these boundaries. Boundaries are very important. Let me just say that because it protects us. It protects us emotionally. It protects us physically, and it also protects our mental well-being. With having boundaries set up in place, it protects us and it ensures that our personal space is being met, where self-esteem is being met, and it also helps us prioritize self-care. So, for example, if you have a family member who is always crossing that boundary, if you say, hey, don't call me after 7 o'clock, and you notice, okay, my brother keeps calling me at 10, 11. Setting that boundary would look like putting that phone on do not disturb. because after 7 p.m., you're taking that time for yourself. This is your own personal time. So, with that, having these boundaries in place will ensure that your needs are being met, you're making time for yourself, and also letting the other people know kindly to respect your peace. Boundaries are very important when it comes to that.
Yeah. I love that. One of the things that I really like about how you explained that was that not only are you um, asking someone to respect your boundaries or maybe communicating that boundary, but you're putting the ownership or the responsibility of that boundary on yourself. I think that's where sometimes I see a breakdown in people implementing their boundaries is they kind of want to say it and then somebody else manage it. And at the core, your boundary is yours. You're the only person who cares about protecting that, or cares about that at the it's like important to you in some way, right? And so it's kind of your responsibility, right, to create something around that. And when you said about the don't call me after 7, but then also putting your phone on do not disturb at 7 o'clock, that was huge because that person may still call you. There's people that's gonna just they're gonna forget. Sometimes they're not gonna care. Sometimes they may have what they feel like is more important than that boundary. And if you just kind of put something in place that allows that boundary to just be enforced, then you don't even have to worry about it. I don't know about you, but if my phone don't ring or it doesn't vibrate, if I don't hear it, then to me, I didn't get no calls. Putting something
Yeah.
on do not disturb is key because I'm not even gonna think about it. I'm not even gonna be like, did somebody call me because I didn't hear it. I didn't see it. So I love that. I love the responsibility piece in that. How can somebody recognize when they need to set boundaries in their personal or professional life? I like this.
I would say when people are, they're just plainly not respecting you. So that will look like when this person come around, you're feeling like stressed or you have some sort of feelings, behind the interaction that you have with them, that energy. You just have to set those boundaries, and you have to protect your not only your mental and your intellect and all of those things, but also your professional and personal spaces. Recognizing that you need to set those boundaries, like I said, like I just mentioned about the recognizing like the feelings and the emotions that you have when those people are in your spaces. Also, the disrespect, and then also understanding that when you are feeling that way, there's stress that come along with that. So you have to be consistent in setting up those boundaries, because we don't want to feel that when we are in certain spaces or when certain people come around. You don't want to feel that way. So it's very important that you reassess and make the corrections.
Absolutely. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That's how I explain it. I'm
Mhm.
like, if you get a feeling, right? Like I feel like it's that feeling. You get a feeling that I ain't like that or that didn't feel right for me. It don't have to be somebody intent. Like, so I like the way you explained it after you said somebody disrespected you, because I'll say like violated you or something like that. But the disrespect doesn't have to be intentional, right? Like somebody could
Right.
be, I don't know, like somebody could be walking in your house with shoes on, for example. You may have a no shoes policy in your house. They're not trying to disrespect your home by wearing shoes. They just may not know. And so if you feel like, oh my gosh, that's just I don't know, I don't want my dog to eat something off their shoes, or maybe I have a small child, or maybe I just don't want the dirt on my floor, right? It starts with the feeling. When you have that feeling, that's usually the sign that there is an opportunity for a boundary. So you don't have to feel like you got to avoid, do things that end up being almost like counteractive to your what you want, which is a positive relationship, a good space, all of that different stuff. Without setting that boundary, you just feel that violation. I know sometimes when people feel that feeling, they're just like, okay, I don't want to deal with them. And I'm like, but you can still deal with them and set the boundaries. And so I really like the way you explained that. And I think what sometimes people may not recognize is that there are so many different kinds of boundaries. And so if you're feeling that, it's probably an opportunity to set a boundary in that way. If you could, because you explained to us the different types of boundaries. I know we have like emotional and physical and mental, right?
Mhm.
how do we set these boundaries to play a crucial role in our life?
So, like you just mentioned with the example with the shoes, your personal spaces, you want to make sure that you have those boundaries in place. It helps you separate from whatever. Okay, so for instance, you may have anxiety from something. Setting that boundary will help maintain your peace because me personally, emotionally, I have to have my boundary set up. And that can be little things, but it just helps me allow my feelings to be kept safe and sacred. It helps me from lashing out and displaying, different emotions towards other people. So you have the emotional boundaries, physical boundaries that could be personal space or touch. So, for instance, if you are someone who likes to be out in the public, there are huggers out there. Or, no, let's talk about this. Good example. For me, personal boundaries, when I'm out in the public, I wear my hair up because I don't like people touching me. I am a hugger with people I know, but when I'm out and about and I have my hair down, people like to touch or put their hands in my hair. So
Mm,
for me to feel safe and to protect my physical boundaries, I wear my hair up in a bun. And that's so that I feel safe. It also helps me from when your tone. You may not have a good day that day. You may say, no, I don't want you touching me, and that can lead to something else. So to just redirect and to just not even go there with people, I
yeah,
just say no thank you and keep it moving.
exactly.
um mental boundaries. So this is involving like your thoughts, your values, your opinions. This ensures that we respect our own and others' viewpoints. It also helps, I think, with being able to think clearly and keeping an open mind about boundaries, if that makes sense. I would also say time management with boundaries. So all of us have good girlfriends. And when we say, please be on time because I have something else to do, or not even that, you have other things planned. A lot of people are not respectful of your time, but I think having those conversations to ensure, like, okay, time is important, showing up, being on time, being present, because you just don't know what other people have planned for the day. So you want to
Yeah,
be mindful and respectful of other people's times. Um, I feel that time is also a boundary with that. And I would say, lastly, with that, the other is just maintaining balance in the boundaries when you set them. You don't want to feel overwhelmed, like I mentioned before, or having anxiety, and also the feeling of being violated when you are setting those boundaries. So just make sure that you set them how you need to set the boundaries, and just, after those boundaries are set, just woosah.
absolutely. Set
Don't
them
overthink
boundaries.
it. Just woosah.
I like that. I like that you gave examples too, because I think sometimes people feel these things, but they don't realize that that is a part of boundaries as well. And I think, like, when you think about emotional range, there's kind of this range you want to stay in. Let's say your emotional range or capacity, shall I say, it's like this
Yes.
wide.
Yes.
But you understand this range, right? Because if we go up too high, then we may be acting really wildly out of character, very, very big energy, doing things or saying things impulsively without thinking. And then on the opposite end of that, we may be not doing enough. We may feel disconnected from things. We may be pushed, like holding back or pushing back. And so I love the way you explain, like wanting to be in this safe space, right? One of the key things about having these different categories of boundaries is it allows us to stay in this space we want to be in so that we don't get in these emotional ranges that we don't want to be in. It causes us to act out of character that brings these different kind of negative, or I won't even say negative. I don't want to say any emotions are negative. I think emotions are emotions. I just watched it said I'm trying to make sure I use the right word words
Didn't
here.
see it yet.
I was like, I got to see it again because my toddler son, he was on my lap. some of the movie, I was talking to him and trying to come, he just so excited.
Busy, busy.
Busy girl, yes. So yeah, I mean, like you think about too much anxiety, right? Or too much stress. Like some of that is normal,
Yes.
but when we're in the state of this is too much or it's chronic or it's prolonged, right? That's an opportunity for boundaries. If I'm going somewhere
Mhm.
and I'm stressed out because I don't know if you're gonna be on time, I gotta be somewhere else by this time, this, that, and the other, right? There may be an opportunity for boundaries. I know a lot of the work both of us do. We
Mhm.
do work differently, but a lot of the work we do requires us to have a sense of time management. And so, yeah, we need people to show up on time because there's probably
Mhm.
stuff else or someone else after you, and I don't want their time to be disrespected because
Right.
maybe you were late or you weren't able to be on time. And so that's an opportunity for a boundary, but it's just so many. There's financial boundaries. There's so many, and
Mhm.
so um, I really like that. Thank you so much for explaining that and sharing some examples with that. Um, what do you feel like are some of the significant benefits of setting and maintaining healthy boundaries?
So, setting healthy boundaries helps relieve that anxiety. It helps relieve the stress. It helps you be able to focus on what's happening in the moment. So, for example, if you are setting these boundaries and they're healthy boundaries, you feel a little bit more relieved. You're not emotionally uptight, you're not snappy. It's like the conversation or wherever you are, it feels more organic. Setting these boundaries helps, having healthy boundaries in general, it just helps you feel better inside and out, just overall. It also helps foster a healthier relationship, whether it be your personal relationships, your business relationships. It just makes everything much better. The communication between you and other people or you and one person, you're able to focus, communicate clearly, be present. What else I want to say? It helps, well, not really, that's not the word I want to use. It helps prevent any miscommunication factors, if that makes sense. Meaning what you're trying to express or whatever it is that you're trying to let them know that you are feeling, you're able to express it, get to the point, and deliver the message effectively or communicate effectively, I shall say. So it helps you. So overall, there are healthy benefits in setting boundaries, no matter what type of boundaries they are. Those are things that everyone needs to have in place.
For sure. I
Yeah.
know very, very early in this episode, I mentioned how boundaries is like one of those key pieces to, protecting your emotional wellness, your mental health, right? And so there's this relationship sometime between the past and the present, or this relationship between things we can't control versus things we can control, this relationship between emotional health and physical health to where they all interact. And so some of the things I guess I'll explain is like, there's things that happen in your past, for example, that may, and even things that you are not in control of at times that may have increased your awareness of stress and even your reaction to stress because now it's higher because you're like, I went through this stuff or right, or these things that I can't control are happening and they brought on a lot of, like, um, just very, very stressful, anxious, just different traumas, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, when you catch up to the present, to the things you can't control or the environments you are more safe in, it's not like that awareness goes away or some of those reactions don't all the way go away, which is a lot of what I help people navigate, right? And so you think about boundaries, it's like one of those things that allow you to create that safe space to say, how can I ensure that I'm managing my stress levels in a way that allows me to feel like, I'm okay, right? Feel like when I'm dealing with life at times or I'm having triggers or just different things that's bringing up my stress levels, I can manage that. Boundaries help with that. And that link between emotional health and physical health that I was mentioning is that you can't really I almost guarantee if you're dealing with something with your physical health, it probably stems from something you were dealing with your emotional health, right? Whether that is some of the decisions you were making because you just, you just like, oh, I don't care about that. Maybe you just didn't know any better. But a lot of those decisions you were making later, right, could take years, could take days, could take minutes, right, to affect your health, but they are linked. Sometimes the prolonged feelings, the sadness, the anxiety, the stress, all of these different things that we carry around contribute to some of the most chronic illnesses. And so I love the way you explain that there are so many key benefits to how boundaries just make your life more peaceful, make it more balanced. I love the word balanced because it's not to say you're going to eliminate stress, you're going to erase your past, you're going to, not have these feelings, but it's really kind of to say, I recognize this, but how do I create a sense of safety, a sense of balance, a sense of things that I can do to help create something better for myself now, right? And going forward. So I love that. Thank you. She over here spitting out, y'all. You better take notes. And I feel like we're going into this area that I like to get into, which is how can someone effectively communicate their boundaries without feeling guilty, without being confrontational?
Mm. A lot of people, like myself, do not like conflict. I don't know if it's because I wouldn't say I'm a people pleaser. I would say I'm very fair, but I don't like conflict. So in that, with setting those boundaries, we do have different challenges and things that we go through. I would say they are like different phases with that. So when you are setting these boundaries in the back of your head, you're probably thinking about, okay, am I gonna fear being rejected? Is this gonna cause a conflict or a situation that I don't want to have right now with them? You having feelings of guilt or feeling ashamed to bring it up, especially if it's someone that you're really close to. You shouldn't have to think that way. But when we talk about when we talk about all of the different challenges that people face when setting boundaries, there's a lot of different things people go through. But in that, we have to stay assertive. We have to be consistent in standing up for ourselves. We are our own advocates. And with that, we have to clearly communicate by starting small and gradually increasing to set these boundaries. And the more that you do it, the more consistent you are. It will just come and it will flow. Even in the midst of small things, something as small as, okay, you share a common space with another coworker, and for the past month they have been using your coffee creamer. In this particular day you said, right, in this particular day you say, um, please don't use my things. It can be something so small. You don't want to share. No, you don't want people using your things. So in that moment, um, you set that boundary. You may feel a little bit guilty, but at the end of the day, there is pressure release, and you're feeling relieved and saying, okay, I set this boundary. I don't want to share. And you feel better about it. We have to continue to set boundaries no matter what the other person is feeling. It's a need. We need to do it. These boundaries can be set for all ages. It's not just an adult thing. This can be for kids. This can be for men, women, anyone in all different settings. And
Yeah.
I always tell my staff, when I'm communicating with them, set these boundaries when you are working with your clients. It's okay to share and to indulge in conversation, but you want to set those boundaries to not have the conflicts later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that because you kind of mentioned something real close to that earlier about how I almost feel like it's like this brewing feeling that sits inside of you when you feel that violated feeling, that feeling, right? And if you don't set the boundary, it turns into this big feeling, which can turn into a big reaction. And so I like that the way you're like, no, wait. And you also mentioned challenges. what do you feel like is one of the biggest challenge that, people challenges that people face when they're thinking about setting boundaries or maybe that even hinders people from setting a boundary?
I think it's the whole conflict piece. It's that's most challenging for people because a lot of people try to just avoid it and they become, I don't want to say pushovers, but they just accept it and they don't really stand in it or speak up for themselves to advocate for themselves to say, no, I don't like this, or no, I don't want you to do that, or they don't say anything. They just let it happen, and the other person don't know it's not okay because you haven't clearly communicated to them why it's not okay or that you don't like whatever it may be. So it's the conflict piece for me. I'm feeling.
Wow, yeah, that's
Yeah.
huge. And I know sometimes I say there's boundaries you don't even have to like overtly communicate because I feel like there's verbal boundaries, but there's also nonverbal boundaries. Like I don't have to sometimes say that thing,
Hmm.
right? Like I don't know, I say if somebody have a pet, like I have allergies to dogs and cats, even though I grew up with a cat. Y'all don't judge me. But if somebody got
I
a
did
pet,
not know
right?
that.
I found out as an adult. I used to be 'cause my
Okay.
grandma, she has a cat. I used to be at her house like, why do I like get to these points where I'm having trouble breathing and all of that? And later found out it's the allergy. So let's say somebody has like, a pet and they had their pet in their car. I know some people ride with their dogs in their car.
Hmm.
I might not say, "Can you not bring your dog in the car?" I can't control how you do your car, right? I don't even
Right.
wanna create this idea that I'm trying to control your space, right? Because sometimes people do that for their own peace.
Hmm.
Well, an example of a nonverbal boundary for me might be, well, I would meet that person wherever we're going, right? I wouldn't even wanna ride with them because I know that that's gonna trigger my allergies, and then I may not have a good time, I might have to leave early. It might just be a whole mess because if my allergies get too bad, all Imma be doing is sneezing. My eyes gonna be watery. I might not be able to breathe well. And so I don't have to say that to you like, "Hey, I'm not gonna get in your car because you have a dog," but instead I might just say, I'll meet you, there or what time you want me to be there. So it's not this like conversation that doesn't have to happen, right? Because I'm gonna say that and then what? You know what I mean? They may take their dog out of the car, but the fur's still there. They not gonna clean out their car every single time I want to get in it. And I don't expect them to, right? And so and I think you also, like lent to with the example with the creamer, right? With explaining how if I say this to that person, and this is what a lot of people avoid doing, it might create some awkwardness. Well, boundaries is about respect. It's first about respect for yourself, but respect for, each other, right? Each other's boundaries. And so I love that you went in that direction because I was like, that is perfect segue into my question about boundaries and respect, right? Like why is it important to respect others' boundaries, and how can we ensure that we do so in our interactions?
It's like, not only setting that barrier, but also setting the tone, for what you will take and what you won't. It's something that um, we all have to do essentially, even though we don't want to do it, or like I mentioned previously about, you're worried about, man, if I say this, how are they going to react? We have to push and encourage ourselves to do it so that we aren't the ones that are not stressed out and worried and just, frazzled. It also helps with our preferences. I don't know. It's so much I can say there, but to stick to the point,
Oh,
it all boils down to just respect.
yes.
Respect. No matter where you are, you have to. You just have to. You have to.
Hey,
Like when it comes. Oh, I'm sorry.
oh, sorry.
Like our kids. Like for instance.
Mhm.
There are boundaries. Yes, you have a curfew. Yes, you have to clean your room because at the end of the day, I'm not going to clean up behind you. Yes, you have to do your chores. There are these things are important for us to maintain as a people, and also to keep our mental in check. It's just one of those things that's just like, what is the word that I want to use?
Accountability.
Yes,
I was
it's
like,
one of those
oh
things. Everybody is held to a standard, no matter who it is, who they are. It's just the way that it is. You have
absolutely.
to respect other people's boundaries. You just have to.
I love that. So I got kind of two things to say on this. Like with the kid thing, I feel
Hmm.
like that boundary helps with future potential boundaries, right? So like if I'm
Hmm.
helping you, if I'm holding you accountable to your space, right, which is in my house usually, right? Like
Hmm.
they gotta clean
Hmm.
their room. It's
Right.
the room that's in the house I pay for. So like I want you first of all to learn how to clean. Well, first of all, I just want that mess cleaned up because I don't want to keep looking at it, and I just don't want further damage to her. Because sometimes if you don't clean up now, it just turns into other stuff. But basically, it's like this trickle down effect. Like if I don't inflict this boundary or enforce this boundary, then it turns into something that I may have to manage later. And so, like sometimes when it comes to parenting, we're trying to help our kids become a competent, a functional adult, right?
Yeah.
At some point to be able to handle things on their own and not depend on you to manage it. And one of the ways of doing that is to help them develop some routines, some habits, some skills at a young age. And that comes with some boundaries because kids usually don't want to learn that stuff. They don't care about doing that stuff. They
They
would
don't
rather
care.
do all this other stuff. But if you don't learn that, then what is that going to set me and you up for the future? Because your parent, I'm always going to love you and want to make sure you're okay. But I can't do it for you. But if I don't teach you, somebody got to do
Right.
it for you, right? Or you
Right.
just going to be living a life that I'm going to feel like I failed. Like your
Hmm.
house is too filthy and you don't actually know how to clean. Now I understand that some people don't know how to clean, they still dirty. No, that's in their ministry. But at least I taught you how to clean. So you can you can do that. So that's kind
Right.
of one point. But also when I think about topics like boundaries and forgiveness and just self-care, all of these different things, I feel like there's this tone of understanding, empathy, and compassion that comes with that.
Hmm.
Because, like, how you explain, like, boundaries is just a way of life. Respecting people's boundaries is just a thing you have to do. If I ever struggle with, wanting to, maybe I don't understand your boundary, maybe I don't feel like it's a necessary boundary, that's not my choice to make. And if I choose to seek understanding, if you choose to want to create the space to explain that to me, that could help me understand it and have some compassion for it a little bit more. But even then, like we have boundaries that sometimes people don't get, that they don't understand. I am terrible with answering the phone the first time people call. I might not even call you back the same day. And some people that might be like, dang, she just ignored me. But it's not on purpose. I don't even think about it. People who know me know
Hmm.
this. And so they just kind of like, she gonna call me back. She gonna respond right when she available. And that's just how I operate. And I feel like when they have a boundary that I don't all the way understand, or maybe I don't do the same way, me knowing that I have my own boundaries that don't, work for everybody, or maybe don't, I mean, it worked for them because it has to, but but it's not maybe their way of doing it allows me to have this compassion for when they have a boundary like that. That I might have did it differently, or I might have, I might not fully understand it, but that's not for me. That's not. They didn't create that for my peace. They created that for their peace. They're not disrespecting me by doing that. They're creating something that allows them to protect us and respect themselves. And so, all I have to do is honor it. All I have to do is not be a conflict to it, and
Hmm.
it's fine, right? And so that's where I'm kind of like, that respect thing for me leads to this sense of understanding, compassion, and empathy because we all have something that is unique to us that maybe other people don't get. They wouldn't do it that way, but it's not the point. And so boundaries is a personal journey for your personal peace, for your personal safety, and just understanding that that works for them for a reason. That's all you need to know. But we are in the age of technology. We're in the age of where people feel like constant access to you. And so you was like, oh my
This
gosh.
is a major one.
How has
Major.
technology, constant connectivity affected our ability to set and maintain boundaries?
So, okay, being a serial entrepreneur, I have to
Yeah.
make sure for my sanity that I like how you mentioned earlier, you inflict your setting. You have to do this. So for me, so when it comes to it being crucial in me setting those boundaries, so for instance, with phones and emails, I'll start there. Phones and emails. There's a certain time of day I'm going to check them. I do have an assistant now. God bless her.
Yes, praise God for an assistant, for the serial entrepreneur. We need those.
You need it. You need it. And I have to say to my team, once you are off the clock, do not check text messages, even if it's just for, hey, well, let me look at this real quick or let me respond real quick. Setting these boundaries will save you so much time. It's not going anywhere. It's not. As far as being a business owner, we have business hours. Check those emails in between those business hours. Do not go back and forth with people in email after. So, meaning 9 to 11 o'clock at night. No, no, I'm not doing it. No, because the more that you do that, the more that you're running and running and running and doing and doing and doing. So checking emails, going back and forth with text messages, it's not going to never end. And that can cause you extreme unbalancedness.
Hmm.
That can cause you to be burnt out,
For
exhausted,
sure.
tiredness. So we have to be very, very, very careful with setting up those boundaries when it comes to specifically technology. Are people going to respect your boundaries when it comes to that? No,
Yeah,
um, they're not. But
right?
when you inflict them, meaning when you are taking the time to go through the emails and check the emails, you're doing it at a certain time, and that's it. And in that, you can reiterate to them, okay, yes, or you could say in your email, hi, my apologies for just getting back to you. These are my business hours. Or you could say, what's a good thing to say? I don't know. I don't
You
know.
said some good ones. I like
Okay,
them
okay.
all.
So I just reiterate to people like, these are business hours. Yes, I can do this. No, I cannot do that. Just being very clear in communicating with them what it is. What it is. For instance, another example, I got an email a couple of days ago during a weekend, holiday weekend. I was just scrolling through my phone and I saw an email that came through at 9 p.m. And I said, dang, I can just respond really quickly. And I said, no, I'm not going to respond to this email.
Good
I'm
for
going to
you.
come back to it and then respond on Monday. So today I sent a reply to the email to answer the question and to also let them know, like, okay, these are our business hours. And thank you for, reaching out to us. There's levels to politeness with technology also, because I noticed that a lot of people, um, well, let me back up. A lot of people get straight to the point with technology. There is no manners anymore with technology. People, they don't say hi. They don't say how are you today. They just get to the point. You may get a client who or someone who is inquiring about an appointment. They skip every all of the
They just go
essential
straight.
information and then just say, "Hey, what services do you provide, or can I get an appointment this week?"
Yep, like literally. That's it.
Okay, are you really thinking, or are you just really trying to get on the books? So it's a process. It's such a process, but I just take the time to go back to really communicate and also to be present in that, so that I'm aware of what's happening, what the situation is, and also to not go through that burnout, or to set those clear boundaries so that it's understood. Again, so reiterating what it is, or communicating effectively, what my availability is, or what our hours are, or what it is that we can provide to assist you. Yeah, I would say for me, technology is the most challenging because, again, I had to hire an assistant. So I'm not taking time away from my client so that I can focus on work. And then the person I hired to do the job, they can respond to the emails, the text messages, the people coming in,
Yeah,
into the salon because it's a lot. It
yeah.
takes a lot. So for me, I would say with this particular piece, maintaining that boundary, I would say this is what 24. It's been about 2 years. 2 years. I've been a business owner since 2015. So it was
Oh,
a
yeah,
process because, again, going back to the conflict, I didn't want the conflict. I didn't want the bad reviews. People said she didn't get back with me, or they don't answer the phone over there, or it's just so many things. And I was just so worried, and my anxiety was up on not getting back in contact with people on time, or, just trying to make sure that we keep the good label or the good recommendations on for the brand, but realistically it's not possible because it's going to be always someone who's reaching out after hours, to ask the question about something so simple or so specific, but we have to, for our mental health, we have to set those boundaries.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I love how you explained it. It's so many ways to think about it. So how you were saying, I tell my staff, right, when your shift is over, you don't have to respond to things. And then earlier you mentioned if I say I'm not answering any calls after 7, I'll just put on do not disturb. Therefore, I don't even get the notifications. It literally goes into like like that little that closet you don't have to open until you're ready.
Mm,
I just love the way that do not disturb works.
yes.
But also professionally, I feel like you when you started talking about that, it actually made me think about something that I didn't really even think about with boundaries. I never thought of this and associated it with boundaries in this way, but the way you just explained it, it made so much sense. It's a lot of times when I email a business, because that's the thing with technology is, if you call your doctor's office at 1 o'clock in the morning, their
Mhm.
calls are turned off, right? You're going to get the message, call back during business hours. But
Right.
like the way technology works, you can literally hit and send the text message. You can hit and send the email all hours of the day and night. And I hope you don't think somebody's not responding at 1 a.m., but you still can send that email. But what I notice businesses will do sometimes is they'll have an auto reply come back to me saying, thank you, received your message. You'll receive a response within the next business day or two or something like
Hmm.
that. And I feel like that's a way, I guess, to kindly inform you that, if you don't receive a response immediately, that's okay,
It's
but you'll
okay.
receive a response within a day or 2, and usually
Hmm.
that's gonna be during their business hours, and so, and sometimes even with text messages, you'll get that kind of response if you especially when you're dealing with businesses, and so I didn't even think about that, but when you just said that, you're like, I almost respond with that, "Here's our business hours thing." I even seen it in people's, signatures or business signatures where
Yeah.
they have under the general signature something that alludes to these are the hours we respond in or are available then, something to that matter. And if this is an emergency, call this number or
Hmm.
contact this person. And so that was super helpful in understanding that technology makes it look like, you're always able to contact people, but people are not, and businesses are not always available. And that's normal and that's fine, but also I don't want you to take it personal or feel some type of ways. Having a way to communicate that and, just kind of do that what we call it warm handoff in a sense, because like you
Hmm.
said, there's no tone in emails or
It's
text
not.
messages, and so people can interpret that so many different ways, and sometimes they think you're being rude, you think they're being rude, and they're really not. You just can't see them, you can't hear their voice, you can't hear the inflection in those
Mhm.
words. You know what I mean? And so yeah, if I need to have a real conversation or we need to elaborate outside of what, I feel like this email will communicate, then I'll say, hey, is it okay if I call you or could we talk, right? And so I think that's also um, somewhat of a way to kind of manage boundaries in the sense that I don't want to add stress or add a prolonged communication trend in this way when it might be a simple 5-minute conversation.
And it goes so much easier when you have the either face-to-face communication or the direct communication over the phone or whatever. It is so much better because, like you mentioned, we cannot read tone in text message and email. I think a lot of people, they just like to get straight to the point where they're very direct, so they just say whatever it is that they're thinking. And it's been many different times. Clients have text just to ask a simple question, but me interpreting a question, I really have to look at it. And I used to be quick to respond. Now I give it a minute, and then I come back to responding. Because you just never know. And then I don't want to misinterpret a simple question into something big. It could be very small, very simple. So I give myself time and just come back. Just come back.
That's a good boundary too, to
Mm-hmm.
allow yourself to digest the information, allow your temperaments and moods to balance out, settle. Because sometimes things come to you, you like maybe moving fast, you may, kind of misunderstand that
Mm-hmm.
message. You may take it a different way. And then if you respond from that space, you probably gonna be out of your range. You gonna be either
Yeah.
hyper or down here somewhere. And you like, if I would have just, like gave it a little bit of time, I probably wouldn't have responded like that. And so I like that,
Mm-hmm.
just like, hey, sometimes technology, you could get on there and get them Twitter fingers going, as they call them, and have a
Yep.
whole response. And we don't need we don't need all that energy. And so so it
Exactly.
is okay if we just say, let's just like let the dust settle where there's not too much any emotional connection to that. And then respond, which I feel like goes into self-care, right? Like how we treat ourselves, the space that we create just for ourselves, even outside of boundaries, but it's such a relationship between those two, self-care and
It is.
boundaries. Can you tell us a little bit about the relationship between self-care and boundaries, and why is prioritizing both so important?
Say for me, setting the boundaries helps keeps me balanced. It helps me balance between my personal and my professional. And with having those in place, it protects my time, my energy, and as an entrepreneur, someone who's always on the go and being involved with communicating with people, my energy has to be up. So if I'm constantly just letting people overstep those boundaries, it can take a toll on your body. Protecting your boundaries allows us to prioritize ourselves and the activities that's going on, and being able to stay focused and also to pour back into our well-being. So it's a must. And also, what am I trying to say? Because I have my mind is like one at a million right now. Prioritizing both helps keeps I want to say like a steady balance, if that makes sense. A steady balance with everything that's going on. So if you like, for instance, Bianca, it will help you, I would say, keep a steady balance with your personal, your kids, your husband, and then also being able to put on that other business hat, being able to prioritize your clients and being present with them. So it just allows that balance. It also helps reduces stress because
Yes.
there's a lot of stress when you don't have boundaries set. And it
Oh
also,
my gosh.
again, goes back to preventing burnout. Because if
Yes.
you're just hitting the ground and you're going and you're going and you're going, you're going to be burned out.
Yep.
So you have to have these set. They both are very essential.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, wow. I mean, you said so much. I'm just like, yes, so golden. There's this relationship between trauma and stress, right? To where you have default responses because they're both coming from your nervous system, your sympathetic
Hmm.
nervous system, and your parasympathetic nervous system. But your sympathetic nervous system is the area that's more gonna go into more stress response mode, more trauma reactive mode, right? And
Mhm.
so when you were explaining that, it made me think about that because I'm like, when you like you talked about you're in a public setting a lot of times when you're interacting with the public. And so when you're interacting with the public, you're in a public setting, you're interacting
I
with
know what
people.
you mean.
So self-care allows you to recharge, it allows you to pull back away from that. When you don't give
Mhm.
yourself space to do that, you're kind of on this hamster wheel to where you're eventually going to hit one of those walls, whether it's a trigger, whether it's a high stress moment, and then you're going to default to what is your common stress response, which could be fight, it could be flight, like we heard about fight or flight mode, could be freeze, right? We hear about that. And another thing that comes up with trauma is fawn, right? Where you just kind of are the people pleaser, you're the person who's just saying yes to everything. And I feel like self care also allows you to reconnect with your value system because a lot of times when you're struggling with boundaries, it is a threat to your value system. So let's say like my top three values are, um, I don't know, God, family, and security, right?
Right.
Let's say those are my top three values. Well, when I struggle with boundaries, that I might do things that threaten those values, might do things that compromise those being my top three values because
Mhm.
maybe somebody else want me to prioritize. I don't know. I'm trying to think of one that could be a conflict. Maybe somebody else want me to prioritize turning up and just having fun. And I know like one of them is adventurous. I love adventure, but I probably wouldn't put adventure over family or over God, over those things. And if somebody else is like really pulling for you to do that, you have to create spaces to where you can reconnect with who you are, what is important to you, um, recharge to feel like you're entering spaces from a healthier space because it allows you to choose, right, how you want
Yep.
to react to stress, how you want to react to triggers, the things that are naturally going to come up throughout your days, throughout life, just because
Mhm.
this is what life does. But if we don't create that for ourselves, then sometimes we're just kind of winging it and we're saying whatever happens, happens. But
Right.
then that's not always that's
That's
not
not
always gonna end
smart at
well
all.
because you like, and those default trauma responses and stress responses that I mentioned, those come from the areas that you were able to learn how to get your needs met. And so
Mhm.
usually those are coming from childhood spaces, spaces that didn't really have the most mature way of handling things, but were just trying to survive, just trying to get through things. Self-care allows you to fuel your parasympathetic nervous system, which is inviting that calm in, which
Mhm.
is, being able to center yourself, being able to be mindful of the things you're doing and the decisions you're making. And so that's where the boundaries are so essential because now you can say,
Yeah.
well, how do I do the things that's important to me and not compromise, right? And so it's almost like this relationship to recharge it so we can have that choice, so that we can feel good about it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right. Okay. So I feel like I was talking about mental health a lot, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. What
It
impact does
goes hand
setting
in hand.
boundaries? I know, right? What
Mhm.
impact does setting boundaries have on mental health? How can you prevent burnout and stress?
Mm. We need clear boundaries. Clear boundaries. With having clear boundaries set in place, it makes everything better. We're able to focus. We're able to think. We're able to communicate. We feel good. Everything. It alleviates stress, anxiety, feeling overwhelmed. It is essential to, I would say, having a healthy state of mind, being in control of your just being in control of yourself, basically. But yes,
I love that.
all of that.
Right. Because you
Just
choose
having
what your
clear,
life is,
yeah.
right? Like if you say, I want to be you're a business owner, so you get to like control your time if you created, your schedule that way. If you
Mhm.
say, I want to be able to go on field trips with my kids and I want to be able to pick them up from school and I want to be able to cook dinner at night, right? I feel like that is a part of how you set boundaries to manage your life to keep that schedule. Because you could have a life that says, well, I'm gonna work through all of those times. I'm never gonna take those kind of breaks. This is not something that I'm ever gonna carve out time for. If anything comes up as an opportunity for me to do something instead of cooking dinner, then I'm gonna do that. Like you have to tell yourself, like these are the things that's important to me, because then you could say these are the
Right.
boundaries that I'm gonna put in place to make sure I can do those things.
Mhm.
I know for me, I'm like, I wanna clean up the kitchen at night. I don't know why I like cleaning up the kitchen at night. If y'all been looking at my Instagram recently, I've been cleaning up the kitchen. I like to have time to do that, and if I don't have time to do that, then my space gonna be a little bit cluttered, which doesn't make me feel good long term when I gotta keep coming into a constant mess and it's not being managed because I'm not really dedicating time to it because I haven't set a boundary around, like, being able to do that. And so I love that, like, you gotta know what your boundaries are, but usually the easiest way to do that is to think about what is important to you, what do you want to happen throughout your days, weeks, months, how do you wanna show up, when it comes to your family. I
Right.
have a self-care day every week, and
Nice.
if I don't do it this week, then I'll make sure I do it next week. Because every once in a while I mess my self-care day up, but I I had to plan for that, so that means all the kids gotta have somewhere to go. They all gotta
I
have
get
somewhere to
it.
go. They are not a part of my self-care day. They're
Right.
part of mom day. I wanna take off mom hat when I do self-care day. And so I gotta plan for that. I gotta make sure I don't have no appointments, right? No meetings. And if I do have a meeting, it's a part of my self-care, not something that I have to like really just keep pouring from my cup. There are days I want to be in meetings all day, but there are days I don't. So, you know what I mean? Like creating a boundary allows you to say, this is what is important to me. And so I'm gonna like try to make sure I implement that in my life. And here's what I say to people who's like, well, I don't have that kind of life. I'm not a business owner. I don't Well, like, I don't want you to feel like you gotta be doing the stuff I'm doing to do this. But if it's a goal of yours, because I was there. I was there. I used to work at a job that I was like, I gotta get out of this. It's burning me out real fast.
Right.
Can't do it forever. If it's a goal of yours to shift your life, implement boundaries in a different way, then I would say set a goal. I love the way, yeah, you explained it. You're like, I've been in business since 2015. At some point, I realized this is not working while I'm communicating. And so I set a goal and I made some changes that allowed me to get to a place to where doing this over and over again made this normal for me, made this comfortable for me. Like you set that goal, that's where you start with. And you start to say, what do I need to put in place to start reaching that goal? And that goal could take 6 months. That goal could take a year. So don't feel like, oh, because I can't do this tomorrow, that I can't do this. You can if you want to. You just got to set a goal and commit to it. A lot
Mhm.
of our success is around setting a goal and the new like this one step that I got to go up might take a whole year, but I really want to go up that step, and so I'm gonna commit to that year long process that it's gonna take me to get to that.
Yeah.
And the
Once I
boundary,
started
yeah,
setting setting priorities or prioritizing my time, it helped better my mental health and well-being. So, like how you said, you must have your self-care days weekly. You have to make the time. You have to make you a priority. After going full steam into this business, I didn't start prioritizing myself until I almost had a nervous breakdown.
oh, I did not know that.
Mhm. Yeah. So after I realized how important life is and understanding that things can wait is when I started prioritizing my well-being. So yes, self-care days are essential. I make sure I take them. Sometimes it's one day, sometimes it may be 4 days.
Yeah,
But you have to make it happen. You do. You know, who else is going to do it for you?
absolutely. And me doing the one day a week, because I know people that do like they'll work, 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 and then they'll have a
Yeah.
block of time that they're like, this is
Mhm.
just recharge time, and I don't want to hear nothing for a week or two. Not
Yeah.
that's a way that's another way to do it. You don't have to do it. It's not one way to do it. It's just making sure you give yourself that space. You're committing something to yourself regularly enough to where you feel a sense of balance. You're not losing yourself. You're not burning out too fast. You're not on this cycle of prolonged chronic stress, that is gonna affect your health long term. You're taking
Right.
care of yourself. So I absolutely
Yeah, so
I
listen, y'all, it's okay. Turn that phone off for a couple of hours. Ignore them kids.
they're gonna be okay, I promise.
They'll be okay.
Um, I
We'll
love
be
that.
fine.
I love that. I love the just idea of promoting boundaries because it's such a tricky topic for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for breaking this down. Thank you so much for sharing some of your journey because I did not know why you were your hair. I think your hair is gorgeous and I like it up or down.
Yeah.
So but when you explained that, I'm like, you know what? She's right. People are over there grabbing on stuff and touching it and like, no, don't want your hands on me. And if I
Mm-hmm.
gotta go wash
That
my
part.
hair, what all it is. So I appreciate you sharing some of your journey in this as well. You please share with people how they can contact you or get in touch with you, maybe where they can find you.
Yes. So you can find my business page on Instagram at a lot of lots. That's ALOTTALOCS. You can also Google a lot of locks. Everything related to healthcare, health wellness, everything locks is on that page. If you are interested in learning how to do locks, check us out. I also have a book available on Amazon if you're interested. It is Everything is a lot of locks on Amazon. So just check us out. I don't think I have anything coming up I want to share. No, I don't have anything coming up. I'm just now coming back from a vacation. So just
Oh, I
just
love
check
it.
me out on IG. That's fine.
Awesome. So you
Thank
heard
you.
her. She has her website, she has her Instagram, and she also has her book on Amazon. Do not miss this opportunity to learn more about yourself, your hair journey, and just, just reconnecting with yourself in a deeper way. I love this. Kat, thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, if you are listening to this podcast, be sure to like it, comment. If you're not a subscriber, make sure you subscribe. Share this with some people. We are
Subscribe.
definitely spreading the word and we want people to also learn this information, y'all. I do a lot of work with people individually in groups and all of that, and this is the space where I am always willing to share free game, and I invite some of the most talented, some of the most brilliant like people that I know to just come on here and share their wisdom. And so thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see y'all next time.
Bye.